Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream of Linux Discovery. Today we are in episode 2 of Linux from scratch. Last time we got past the preface, and now we are in the introduction section. And hopefully, very, very soon, we will get to the meat of everything and build Linux from scratch, live on stream. So let's go forward. I was here. Okay. Forward. The LFS system will be built by using an already installed Linux distribution, such as Debian, Open, Mandriva, never heard of that distribution, Fedora, or OpenSUSE. This existing Linux system, the host, will be used as a starting point to provide necessary programs, including a compiler, linker, and shell, to build a new system. Select the development sec option during the distribution installation to be able to access these tools. As an alternative to installing a separate distribution onto your machine, you may wish to use a live CD from a commercial distribution. Hold on a second. Okay, going on. Chapter 2 of this book describes how to create a new Linux native partition and file system. This is the place where the new LFS system will be compiled and installed. Chapter 3 explains which packages and patches need to be downloaded to build an LFS system and how to store them on the new file system. Chapter 4 discusses the setup of an appropriate working environment. Please read Chapter 4 carefully, as it explains several important issues you need to be aware before beginning to work your way through Chapter 5 and beyond. I hope I'll get that warning when I reach Chapter 4. Chapter 5 explains the installation of a number of packages that will form the basic development suite, the toolchain, which is used to build the actual system in Chapter 6. Some of these packages are needed to resolve circular dependencies. For example, to compile a compiler, you need a compiler. Of course. Some word twisting there, but I get it. Chapter by chapter, we'll build our Linux system. Chapter 5 also shows how to build a first pass of the toolchain, including binutils and GCC. First pass basically means these two core packages will be reinstalled. The next step is to build glibc, the C library. glibc will be compiled by the toolchain programs built in the first pass. Then a second pass of the toolchain will be built. This time the toolchain will be dynamically linked against the newly built glibc. The remaining Chapter 5 packages are built using this second pass toolchain. When this is done, the LFS installation process will no longer depend on a host distribution, with the exception of the running kernel. I see. Though I hope we get more on that, and I'm sure we'll get more on that in Chapter 5. This effort is to isolate the new system from the host distribution may seem excessive. This effort to isolate may seem excessive. A full technical explanation as to why this is done is provided in section 5.2, Toolchain Technical Notes. Okay, in Chapter 6, the full LFS system is built. The chroot, change root program, is used to enter a virtual environment and start a new shell whose root directory will be set to the LFS partition. This is very similar to rebooting and instructing the kernel to mount the LFS partition as the root partition. The system does not actively reboot, but instead uses chroot, because creating a bootable system requires additional work, which is not necessary just yet. The major advantages is that CH routing allows you to continue using the host system while LFS is being built, while waiting for package compilations to compile. You can continue using your computer as normal. To finish the installation, the basic system configuration is set up in Chapter 7, and the kernel and bootloader are set up in Chapter 8. Chapter 9 contains information on continuing the LFS experience beyond this book. After the steps, looks like we have some interruptions. Sorry. Okay, where were we? To finish the installation, the basic system configuration is set up in Chapter 7, and the kernel and bootloader are set up in Chapter 8. Chapter 9 contains information on continuing the LFS experience beyond this book. After the steps of this book have been implemented, the computer will be ready to reboot into the new LFS system. This is the process in a nutshell. Detailed information on each setup is discussed in the following chapters and package descriptions. Items that may seem complicated will be clarified, and everything will fall into place as you embark on the LFS adventure. Below is a list of package updates made since the previous release of the book. Bash. Okay, whatever. Removed. Oh, so this is like the old version of the book. The new version of the book compared to the old version of the book. Okay. This is version 8.2 of the Linux from Scratch book, dated March 2, 2018. If this book is more than 6 months old, a newer and better version is probably already available. To find out, please check one of the mirrors via this one. Well, I'm reading on their official website, so I do not think it is available. It should not be. We basically started this yesterday. Okay, whatever. LFS. Download. Stable book. 8.2. Yep. Download. Snapshots. Oh, they're actively developing. Even today. 6 months. March, April, June, July, August. Oh, it's only 4 months. Okay, that makes sense to not be available. Below is a list of changes made since the previous release of the book. I want to see what they're using for tickets. LFS ticket 4127. FAQ. If during the building of the LFS system you encounter any errors, have any questions, or think there is a typo in the book, please start by considering the frequently asked questions that is located here. Probably gonna have to bookmark that. This. Mailing lists. The linuxfromscratch.org server hosts a number of mailing lists used for the development of the LFS project. These lists include domain development and support lists, among others. If the new FAQ does not solve the problem you're having, the next step would be to search the mailing lists here. For information on the different lists, how to subscribe, archive locations, and additional information, visit this one. Firefox, Mozilla. Okay. Does not look interesting. IRC. Several members of the LFS community offer assistance on Internet Relay Chat, IRC. Before using this support, please make sure that your question is not already answered in the LFS FAQ or the mailing list archives. You can find the IRC network at irc.freenode.net. The support channel is named #LFS support. We'll have to take a look in IRC at some point. I always thought it was interesting. The LFS project has a number of worldwide mirrors to make accessing the website and downloading the required packages more convenient. Please visit the LFS website here for a list of current mirrors. Please direct all your questions and comments to one of the LFS mailing lists, see above. If an issue or a question is encountered while working through this book, please check the FAQ page here. Questions are often already answered there. If your question is not answered on the page, try to find the source of the problem. The following hint will give you some guidance for troubleshooting. If you cannot find your problem listed in the FAQ, search the mailing lists there. Have I not read that already? No, I have not. But it's so similar to the last page. Oh, we have a wonderful LFS community that is willing to offer assistance through the mailing lists and IRC. However, we get several support questions every day, and many of them can be easily answered by going to the FAQ and by searching the mailing lists first. So, for us to offer the best assistance possible, you need to do some research on your own first. That allows us to focus on the more unusual support needs. If your searches do not reproduce a solution, please include all the relevant information mentioned below in your request for help. Things to mention, apart from a brief explanation of the problem being experienced, the essential things to include in any request for help are the version of the book being used, in this case 8.2, the host distribution and the version being used to create LFS, the output from the host system requirements script. Okay, it's a script. I access the page, not a script. I don't care about the page yet. The package or section the problem was encountered in, the exact error message or symptom being received. Note whenever you have deviated from the book at all. Deviating from this book does not mean that we will not help you. After all, LFS is about personal preference. Being upfront about any changes to the established procedure helps us evaluate and determine possible causes of your problem. Configure script problems. If something goes wrong while running the configure script, review the config.log file. This file may contain errors encountered during configure, which were not printed to the screen. Include the several lines if you need to ask for help. Both the screen output and the contents of various files are useful in determining the cause of the compilation problems. The screen output from the configure script and the make run can be helpful. This is not necessary to include the entire output, but do include enough of the relevant information. Below is an example of the type of information to include from the screen output from make. In this case, many people will just include the bottom section. What is the bottom section? Make to error 1. This is not enough information to properly diagnose the problem because it only notes that something went wrong, not what went wrong. The entire section, as in the example above, is what should be saved because it includes the command that was executed and the associated error messages. An excellent article about asking for help on the internet is available online. Here, oh, what do we have here? An article telling you how to ask questions on the internet. In the world of hackers, I just had to see that first, right? In the world of hackers. Smart questions. How to ask questions the smart way. This seems like a fun read. Though kind of long. But it doesn't matter. Well, we are derailing now. Let's get back on track. An excellent article about asking for help on the internet is available online here. Read and follow the hints in this document to increase the likelihood of getting the help you need. That was the introduction. I see. How do you stay on time? Oh, there's plenty left. Preparing the host system is what's next. Preparing for the build. Oh, this is kind of a big chapter. One, two, three, 4. Don't worry, I won't take a look at the contents very often. Let's go. Preparing the host system. In this chapter, the host tools needed for building LFS are checked and, if necessary, installed. Then a partition which will host the LFS system is prepared. We will create the partition itself, create a file system on it, and mount it. Your host system should have the following software with the minimum versions indicated. This should not be an issue for most modern Linux distributions. Also note that many distributions will place software headers into separate packages, often in the form of package name devil or package name dev. Be sure to install those if your distribution provides them. System should have the following software with the minimum versions indicated. Okay, so the version should not be an issue. Also note that many distributions will place software headers into separate packages. Software headers. Be sure to install those if your distribution supports them. Earlier versions of the listed software packages may work, but have not been tested. So do I need to make sure I install them all right now? Linux kernel. So the entire thing should not be an issue for modern Linux distributions. I think I have something already installed. Was it in VirtualBox? No, was it in, what's the other one called? VMware, maybe. Yes, it is here. Okay. Bash bin utils bison should be a link to bison or small script that executes bison. Now, I'm wondering if I have that. Is it working? What if I don't remember? Yes, I did remember. System in Meltdown, Spectre and Ubuntu. Whoa. Okay, I'll think about that update later. Oh, this makes sense. Wondered why the screen was so small. Some leftover files. So, yak. Is it here? No, it's not. I don't have Bison installed. Starting daily apt update and clean activities. Thank you. So I have to install every one of these. Do I? Including the C++ compiler. The reason for the kernel version requirement is that we specify that version when building glibc in chapter 6 at the recommendation of the developers. It is also required by UDev. If the host kernel is earlier than 3.2, you will need to replace the kernel with a more up-to-date version. There are two ways you can go about this. First, see if your Linux vendor provides a 3.2 or later kernel package. If so, you may wish to install it. If your vendor doesn't offer an acceptable kernel package, or you would prefer not to install it, you can compile a kernel yourself. Instructions for compiling the kernel and configuring the bootloader, assuming the host uses grub, are located in chapter 8. I won't jump straight to chapter 8 to fix my Ubuntu. I'll just reinstall it, and if Ubuntu is not enough, I'll go to Debian or something. It's a sudo. I have the sudo. No, he's not asking for a password. Great. Now you're asking for a password. The password is Okay. An update and an upgrade. And we should have the latest system. Assuming this is Ubuntu 18.4. Yes. XZ. Note that the symlinks mentioned above are required to build an LFS system using the instructions contained within this book. Symlinks then point to other software such as Dash, Mock, etc. may work, but are not tested or supported by the LFS development team, and may require either deviation from the instructions or additional patches to some packages. To see whether your host system has all the appropriate versions and the ability to compile programs, run the following. Okay. Fine. Let's read on. Until that is being updated. Okay. This is one. Building LFS in stages. LFS is designed to be built in one session. That is, the instructions assume that the system will not be shut down during the process. That does not mean that the system has to be done in one setting. The issue is that certain procedures have to be reaccomplished after a reboot, if resuming LFS at different points. These chapters are chapters 1 through 4. These chapters are accomplished on the host system. When restarting, be careful of the following. Procedures done as the root user after section 2.4 need to have the LFS environment variable set for the root user. Come on, tell me more. The mount LFS partition must be mounted. All instructions in chapter 5 must be done by the user LFS. A CU needs to be done before any task in chapter 5. The procedures in section are critical. If there is any doubt about installing a package, ensure any previously expanded tarballs are removed. Re-extract the package files and complete all instructions in that section. The mount LFS partition must be mounted. When entering chroot, the LFS partition variable must be set for root. The LFS variable is not used otherwise. The virtual file systems must be mounted. This can be done before or after entering chroot by changing to a host virtual terminal and as root running the commands said there. Well, this is the thing about books. I mean, I think I would have been fine with reading chapters 1 through 4 without knowing this. And you telling me about these things there. I mean, the book telling me about these things there. Like most other operating systems, LFS is usually installed on a dedicated partition. Before we go on, let's see if it's updated. And it's not yet. Like most other operating systems, LFS is usually installed on a dedicated partition. The recommended approach to building an LFS system is to use an available empty partition, or if you have enough unpartitioned space, to create one. A minimal system requires a partition of around 6 gigabytes. This is enough to store all the source tarballs and compile the packages. However, if the LFS system is intended to be the primary Linux system, additional software will probably be installed, which will require additional space. A 20 gigabyte partition is a reasonable size to provide for growth. The LFS system itself will not take up this much room. A large portion of this requirement is to provide sufficient free temporary storage, as well as for adding additional capabilities after LFS is complete. Additionally, compiling packages can require a lot of disk space, which will be reclaimed after the package is installed. Because there is not always enough random access memory available for compilation processes, it is a good idea to use a small disk partition as swap space. This is used by the kernel to store seldom used data and leave more memory available for active processes. The swap partition for an LFS system can be the same as the one used by the host system, in which case it is not necessary to create another one. For real, can two operating systems operate on? No, it doesn't matter. Start a disk partitioning program such as cfdisk or fdisk with the command line option naming the hard disk on which the new partition will be created. For example, dev SDA for the primary integrated drive electronics IDE disk. Create a Linux native partition and a swap partition if needed. Please refer to cfdisk 8 or cfdisk or fdisk 8 if you do not yet know how to use the programs. Let's see. Manipulate disk partition table. Fdisk is a dialogue-driven program for creating and manipulating. It understands GPT, MBR, SUN, SGI, whatever. For experienced users, other partitioning schemas are possible. The new LFS system can be on one software RAID array or an LVM logical volume. However, some of these options require an initram FS, which is an advanced topic. These partitioning methodologies are not recommended for the first-time LFS users. Remember the designation of the new partition, SDA5. This book will refer to this as the LFS partition. So remember the designation of the swap partition. These names will be needed later for the etc fstab file. Look. I'm not certain they want me to do these things now, but I could. Final preparations. Let's see what you say here. See, I see commands. Well, I don't expect to do everything just by copy-pasting, but I see commands. While here I don't. About SBUs, constructing a temporary file system. Host system requirements. Yeah, of course. So let's do everything in order. Now it's a challenge. How do I paste these in here? Ubuntu VM paste. I see. Yeah, connecting to it via PuTTY. ifconfig. PuTTY. Can I? 192.168.141.129. Looks like it. Great. This one, copy, paste. What do you say? Now let's check them one by one. Bash 3.2 I have to remember not to move my console to my other screen. Bash 3.2 I have, Bash 4.4, it's enough. Dash. It is sudo Why did it take you so long? Come on. Sudo Come on, it's creating a link. That's stupid. No. Where is that? Bash. What am I doing? Version check. I see no errors. But let's check manually. Bash. Binutils 2.30. Bison command not found. If this keeps going as horribly as it is going, it's gonna be a big problem. Let's see, what kind of settings do you have? Power off. VMware. Settings. I cannot delete this hard disk, but I can add another. A new virtual hard disk. This is gonna be called LFS. Linux from scratch. You're getting more memory. 4096. That should be enough for a console. You're getting 2 processes as well. Now don't you dare run bad on me again. I don't need to log in here. This can go. My status bar, and I'm logging in with putty. I guess I do need to log in here. Bad password again. almost divulged my password. It is ifconfig, and it is 192.168.141.129. I'm Ubuntu VM. I know what this is. Oh, yes, I know what this is. Version check. Where's the version check? Now I have Bison. I have bzip 106 core utils, diff, find, gawk, okay, GCC 730. Oh, it is 730. Perfect. G++, still 730. glibc 227, grep, gzip. All is perfect. Linux version 4.15. Okay, whoa, this is a long line. Next one is M4 1.4.18. Make is not found. Let's have make. Did it ask for the password instantly this time? Now we have make as well. We have patch. We have Perl. We have sed. We have tar. We have tax info. Make info. Why don't I get the password request instantly? Okay. We have XZ. Let's check the symlinks one more time. Awk, gawk. Oh, it's fine. What was here? Okay. I have a whole separate disk instead of a new partition. It's a virtual disk. I think it is fine for today. I know we have set up our VM. Why is sudo taking that much? That should not be the case. Of course. Ubuntu VM sudo taking too long. Edit file etc/hosts. But I do not know the host name. Anyway, this is something for me to fix off stream, because it's only specific to my case. I may have changed that host name. Oh, I think I remember. It is... How is that? VM Ubuntu S 1804. I am taking a break. And this was it. Bye.